Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
And the ball is loose. Third down, 3rd and 4.
Welcome to the AFC North Talk. Appreciate you guys joining us. This is our second show for the week. We're going to start to preview this next round of the playoffs, the second round. We're going to start off, though, with making some picks for the NFC playoffs in terms of what we're doing there. So, Sonny, with everything, you can go ahead and give your picks for the NFC.
Okay, so I think Green Bay is gonna demolish the Rams. No, to be honest, I think the defense of the Rams are gonna just slow them down a little bit, but I don't have faith in the Rams offense. So I think it's not gonna be like a 40-10 game, but I think it's gonna be like a 24-10 Green Bay, especially the LA team going to the cold weather over there in Green Bay. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. Now, and the other side is very interesting because the Saints have demolished literally the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? The last game, the Buccaneers got a field goal for points. That was their big time, point total. So I don't know because I think the Buccaneers are way better than this, but it might be that the Saints just have their numbers. And then because it's not that like Drew Brees is killing them, right? It's more the defense they have no answers to Tampa Bay offense has no answers to the Saints defense. I think the Saints win on a close one, but man, it is hard to beat an opponent 3 times, and I don't know, man. I can see it either way, but Green Bay is going to the championship in that side, NFC Championship.
Yes, sir. So just so you guys know, super chats are open. So if you are here watching the show, please feel free to like that button. Tony, what are your thoughts on the playoffs?
Well, I look at this game between the Rams and Packers, and it just feels like one of those games that's too easy. Right? You look at it, it's like Sonny said, it's so obvious how this game is going to play out. You got Jared Goff again. I know he, he wasn't like outright terrible last week, but he was pretty bad with just with just 4 fingers, right? So he comes back this week and against Aaron Rodgers, are they going to be able to put up points against enough to keep up with Aaron Rodgers? I don't think they are. But then I look at that Rams defense, man, they are very, very good. And we've seen a lot of times with Aaron Rodgers against a good defense where he just gets frustrated, right? He is another one of those players where, the confidence goes and so goes the play of Aaron Rodgers and that offense goes into a shell. So I just have a hard time. I'm with Sonny though. I have a hard time actually picking the Rams to win outright. Well, I think that defense is fantastic, and Aaron Donald's having a great year. The way that I think his name is Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator there in LA, is using Jalen Ramsey, I think is tremendous. And that whole defense is playing at a really high level right now. But they're going to be stumped. They're going to be stumped by their offense, who won't be able to put up even enough points. Even if that defense plays well enough, are they really going to keep Aaron Rodgers in the teens? They'd have to get some big turnovers, give Goff some short fields. I'll take the Packers in that one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little closer than people think. The other game, like Sonny talked about, the Saints beating the Bucs 3 times in a year, not going to be easy, especially considering the Bucs are red hot right now, and Tom Brady's playing like the best quarterback in the league. I mean that offense is humming. I know that that was a closer game last week, and I think you have to give your hats off to Tyler Heineke or whatever his name is, because he played really good football. Otherwise, that was going to be a blowout, and so I will take the Bucs as well. I'll agree with Sonny in both games. I
didn't take the Bucs.
You didn't. I took the Saints. I'm taking the Bucs.
The Saints had demolished the Bucs twice this year. Not even close. Those games are not close at all.
Right. So, but that's not going to happen a third time. That's not going to happen.
It's going to be close, but I'm going to the Saints because, it's hard. It wasn't like it was 2 close games and then, okay, the Bucs can beat. It's just been bad. But I agree with you. I can see the Bucs winning. But man, they haven't proven it against the Saints.
Not in this matchup. But like you said, third division game. It's gonna play. I think it's gonna play out differently this time. Brady's playing at a high level. That offense is clicking. Even my boy Leonard Fournette, who I killed in the offseason, he had a decent game, and he was good. I'll give him credit for it. He had a good game. They're gonna need him and Ronald Jones. I think hopefully Jones is healthy for them because they're gonna need to put up some points in this game. But that offense is firing on all cylinders right now. So I'll take Packers Bucks in the old Battle of the Bay in the NFC Championship game.
I'm with same thing. I mean, you still got to look at the quarterback position. Obviously, Drew Brees is that guy, but this is Tom Brady. Playoff Tom Brady, you just don't bet against him. It's like betting against LeBron. It's like, oh yeah, LeBron's going to get eliminated in the second round of the playoffs. It's not happening. The fact that this team, just look at everything on paper. When we started this season, everyone said the Bucs are going to Super Bowl. They literally have everyone. They have AB. AB's like their third receiver. They have Chris Godwin. They've got Mike Evans, who's criminally underrated. Nobody ever talks about Mike Evans. I don't know why they don't talk about that guy. He's an elite receiver. You got Rob Gronkowski. You got Cameron Brate. You got Leonard Fournette. Like, that is a stable full of weapons. They are humming at the right time, as Tony has said. Yes, it was a close game against the Washington football team, but that was a good defensive line. So I don't think the Saints have a line that matches the Washington football team. And I think Tom Brady right now is on a mission. And when I saw him jump on, I don't know if it was Twitter or Instagram, he's playing that Still Dre. He wants to smoke. Tom Brady wants to smoke. He wants to go through Drew Brees and try to take out Aaron Rodgers on the way to another title because people kept telling him he was a system quarterback. He's not the best quarterback of all time. Aaron Rodgers is better. Drew Brees is better. He's a system quarterback. This is a guy that literally dedicates his life to the NFL and is still doing it at a high level at the age that he's at. And that's why I give them the edge. Not that Brees isn't doing that, but this guy is still hungry at this age for another one. And he's got a point to prove. And I say the LeBron parallel because remember when people were like, LeBron doesn't want to go to the West. He's scared of going to the West. He went straight to the NFC to get the smoke with Rodgers, Brees, and all of those teams over there so that there isn't an excuse anymore to say that Tom Brady, there's some holes in his resume and stuff like that. So I think that this means a lot to him. And the fact that this man finished the season, it was crazy because there was a whole bunch of drama surrounding this team all season long, right? They can't beat anybody. Tom Brady's lost it. He's not working in the system. I look at the man's stats. He has 40 touchdowns by the end of the season. And if that is someone falling off, I don't know what to tell you because I come from the Andy Dalton school where Andy Dalton had 33 touchdowns and it was just like, oh, he's an MVP. Like, no. So for Tom Brady to be doing that, the standard is that high. I think that it's going to be a great game to watch. I think that him and Brees going at each other and with this possibly being Brees's last year potentially, I think that it's going to be a good game. You also have Sean Payton there. That's going to be a great game plan. But the Saints, I just can't buy it, especially with the last two playoff appearances that they've had the previous 2 years. Every time you think that they're going to do it and get to that championship game or get to the Super Bowl, they just fall short. So I've got Brady in that one. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, man. I mean, it's Rodgers and money matters. Money and ratings matter. Everybody wants to see Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady in the NFC Championship. So I think Vegas is probably going to make that happen. Q, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when you look at the Rams, right, one of the keys with the Rams and why they aren't as good of a regular season team as you would have thought they would be, given how good that defense is and how down the NFC West was this year with San Francisco losing everybody, Arizona choosing to choke it all out. Like the NFC West had a uncharacteristically down year. Seattle was not as good as it's been in past years. So when you look at that and you see how the Rams played all season, yes, that defense is amazing, but that defense doesn't show up every week. That's the biggest problem, right? They will have weeks like they did last week where they dominate against Seattle. They will also have weeks where they let Sam Darnold dominate them and half the Jets win the battle on the line of scrimmage against them. It is a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of team, right? So when you look at that going into the Packers actually have a good offensive line. I don't know much about their defense, but I do know Aaron Rodgers, probably the best quarterback in the NFC. as of now. He's just a little bit younger than Brady. That's why I'll give him the edge there. So I think it's going to be Green Bay coming out of that game. But I do think that'll be either that's going to be a close game and the Rams win, or it's going to be a blowout in the Green Bay Packers win. I think the blowout probably has a 60% chance of happening. When we move down here and talk about this Buccaneers Saints game. Now, the Saints have been the boogeyman for the Buccaneers, right? This is a monkey the Buccaneers need to get off their back. And I always like the team that has lost 2 times, even though this makes no sense logically. But the team that's lost 2 times against a division opponent, it's so tough to beat a good division team 3 times in a row, regardless of who's the quarterback. Add in the fact that it's Tom Brady in the playoffs. Oh, man, and then you add on top of that the issues that the Saints have had getting going early in games, right? Where Drew Brees just can't push the ball downfield and they're relying on Alvin Kamara. Well, the Buccaneers theoretically have pieces that can handle that, and they have the ability to get this game literally out of the arm strength range of Drew Brees. And I think this is going to be the game that they finally do it, right? I think it's going to be like the Cavs Warriors, where like all the games are blowouts except for like the last one. And I think this is going to be Tampa's time to push back here. And it would be fitting that Tampa has a chance to play in the Super Bowl that they're hosting when like only like 40 or 50% of the fans are allowed. Like that would be so this season if that happened. So I agree with almost everybody here. I think it's going to be a Green Bay, Tampa Bay matchup. I just don't think the Saints have enough in there. I don't like how they kind of sputtered to start that game against the Bears, and then they got it together late, but I just don't think they're going to have that opportunity to get it together late and have this game be within reach if they start slow against the Buccaneers, and I do think they're going to start slow.
All right, so that brings us into the super chats. We got one here from Josh Z for $9.99. I think it's so disrespectful. Browns are -10 on the line for bets. People do realize we have played in more shootouts than Kansas City and have been in playoff mode for longer than any team, maybe the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's true. The Browns have been must-win for, 3 weeks now? Well, 2 weeks, ever since they lost to the Jets. So, but a lot of other teams have been in must-win mode. Now, the -10 line, that's a little wow.
Yeah, that's kind of
but isn't that free money? Like, just put money on the Browns. I'm with you guys. Like, it's just free money.
I don't bet, but the one thing I will say is the interesting thing about what's happened nationally is the Browns are being talked about like a Cinderella team, which is not who this team is, right? This is not a Cinderella, oh my gosh, where did this team come from? Right. A year ago, people were predicting this exact worse version of this roster to go to the Super Bowl. The ideal that this is this is like George Mason making a Final Four, it is kind of ridiculous. I know I just lost the camera. I'm trying to get it
they're
back.
Treating you guys like the Titans from last year. Nobody saw this coming. What?
It's interesting, right? Because how they handled the Pittsburgh loss. It was all about, oh boy, Pittsburgh choked away that game. I don't think people have caught up nationally that the Browns were actually just a better team than Pittsburgh and played better football than Pittsburgh in that game at the very least. And when you put those teams together, I get that they had a ton of things going out, but at the end of the day, the Browns were missing 2 starters and their head coach. They have a good head coach, so I would expect that you can overcome him not being there on the sideline, but I get why people thought that was going to be a massive factor. But I do think people will think this and be like, oh, we stopped the run. The ideal is still things that we grew out of on this show a long time ago, where the ideal was hey, you stop Nick Chubb, you stop Kareem Hunt, you can win this game, or these kind of ideas still exist nationally when they talk about the Browns. So I think that's part of the -10 spread. Also, the Chiefs are the best team in football. It's kind of disrespectful, but Patrick Mahomes, I've literally said he's an alien. You cannot compare other football players to him because he's that good. So it's a combination of those two things. The Browns aren't a brand that people trust. The Chiefs are a brand that everybody is getting behind. They're the hot brand. We're the upstart. And it's going to be on the Browns to prove that. And, if they get to the AFC Championship, I got news for Browns fans. It's going to be another -6 point spread because either you're playing against the Bills, a team that people just think is better than you right now, or you're playing against the Ravens, a team that's beat you twice. And, we have this mindset. We're hey, you can't beat them 3 times. And I know Sonny might not want to see us 3 times, but,
I think we'll be in
how they're going to digest that.
I think if you beat the Kansas City Chiefs, you will be in the minus, meaning you're gonna be a dog. But if you beat the Kansas City Chiefs, you're not gonna be that big of a dog. I mean, people are gonna be like, "Oh my God, the team that just beat Kansas City," right?
I don't know. You don't think they would also be double-digit dogs against Baltimore?
I think so. I think
would-
not double digit
might be.
dogs. I think
Sonny,
like
the
Quincy said,
Yeah.
negative like 6. I could see that. I could see.
The one thing we're missing though in this conversation is like we're looking at this as people who have paid attention all year to the Browns. Not
Right.
people have not been paying attention all year
At all.
to the Browns.
That's
So
my-
Well,
they-
Vegas pays attention, right? They don't.
Yeah.
Vegas doesn't make lines from uninformed, right? But they are doing this on the public
On public
perception.
knowledge. Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
my
yeah.
point.
Yeah, this
That
is where
that's
they're trading
exactly
off
my
of.
point.
And what I'm saying is like you're thinking that, oh my God, people are going to take the Browns seriously if they beat the Chiefs. No, people are going to digest this in the dumbest way possible, which is normally how the narratives get put out. Where it's like, oh, this Cinderella Browns team, they just find a way, even though they're understaffed. They're gonna play it like that. Like they literally did the same thing to the Titans last year, right?
So that's my point. So I think Vegas will come up with a minus, let's call it -7 line, right? Against Baltimore or against the
Buffalo.
Bills.
Yep.
Yeah, but people are gonna be like, no, but this is a Cinderella team. They're giving me 7, and they're gonna start betting the Browns, and that line should be reduced.
Also,
Has this line come down? When did
It
this
can't
line
be a
start?
Cinderella team if these
Yeah.
same guys that were on these same shows were
Nobody's
saying that the
doing that
Browns
to me,
were
though.
going to win the Super Bowl. Like no one said the Titans were going to win the Super Bowl.
I agree, but my point, Tony.
also,
Go ahead.
yeah. Also, one thing: people who are betting already know you don't bet on the Browns. Like the Browns this year have been an
I feel
all-time
you.
bad bet. Like they have been like historically, like don't put no money on them.
Nope. I learned my lesson last
Historically,
year.
and this year specifically. Like, you got the Nick Chubb running out to blow the spread. Like how many point spreads have the Browns either covered or blown like all year? Like people who are gambling aren't going to just be like gun ho. Yeah, let's go with the Browns. They have been burnt this year 2 times. Like multiple times.
This line opened
Yep.
at 10, and it's come down in some places to 9.5 is as far as it's come down. So we'll see if that even if that
I
goes.
think
further
that
down.
that's a mistake, though, and I guess we can start to kind of get into the Browns, I guess, Chiefs preview. I guess that's a good segue into it. But I got a couple super chats here. We got one from Jay Turner 1508 for $5. If Baker has a big game and beats Mahomes head to head in the playoffs, is he officially regarded as a top 5 to top 10 quarterback in this league? I say he already is.
That's the point, though, right? The people who already think that will think that. The people who don't will be. It's just one game, And honestly, the game where people would have given that credit is the game where they beat Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh's a much better defense than Kansas City, even like with the people they didn't have. That's a much better defense. I know Tyrann Mathieu's good, but they're not as deep, even without Joe Hayden at the secondary position and at the defensive line as Pittsburgh is. So they're just going to be like, well, the Chiefs, like, how everybody does, right? When somebody does something good, oh, that defense is trash, even though it's the divisional round of the playoffs. We already know what's up. If Lamar blows the doors off of Buffalo, which I do think is a possibility this week, they'll just be like, well, the Buffalo couldn't stop the run all year, so it's really not that special with Lamar. Like if there are people who are already going to believe it, there are people who aren't going to believe it.
Yeah.
And it's going to take an entire season of this kind of play for people to really be moved off of that. And that's going to be for next year. Nobody's going to be like, oh, Baker Mayfield, top 5 QB, even if he wins the Super Bowl. They'll be like, man, he had a great run. Same thing happened to Joe Flacco, right? Where Joe Flacco had that great run, and people were like, well, he's not elite. You know what I mean? And
I think if Baker
in that case, they were right, though.
yeah,
I think if Baker beats Mahomes in a shootout, right? It should be considered at least a top 10. I think he will go into the season as a top 10. You rank it wherever you want. Top 10 QB. The thing is, and I think that was what happened with Flacco. When Flacco had the amazing run, people were like, okay, he's a top 10 QB. The thing is, that narrative can change like that as soon as season start and he struggles, right? Now, if he comes next season, so before season started, like, yeah, Baker Mayfield, he's a top 10. Look at the run he had in the playoff. If the season starts and he keeps it, then people are going to be like, yeah, you see, I'm telling you, he's a top 10, and they're going to keep. Right. But if he comes out of the get-go so struggling, people are going to be like, well, that was a fluke, which is quasi what happened with Flacco, right? So that's the big thing. If he beats KC, then yes, people are going to consider him a top 10, but he has to sustain it.
Also,
Well,
let's
right,
not forget too, like Baker Mayfield broke the rookie touchdown record in like 14 games, and then he had a bad year in 2019. His third year, he had a good one, and everybody's like, "Man, Baker Mayfield recovered from such a shaky start to his career." Like this is just like he was not good his rookie year. Like this is just where people are at with it. It's just
I think
you
it was
can't
the
expect him to have
regression
more
in year
performance.
2. I think was so surprising for him because he did. You're right. He finished his rookie year, and PFF was talking about he's the most accurate quarterback they'd seen in a while, and all that. And then it regressed so far in year 2 that I think the top 10, top 5 stuff. Look, top 10, top 5, right? You can debate that all day. I think that what will get said for sure is that Baker Mayfield is a franchise quarterback, and that there will be no doubt about, right? Whether he's top 5, top 10, like look, would you rather have Baker Mayfield or Russell Wilson, right? Right? Russell Wilson is having a down. As Sonny said, that stuff fluctuates so much because Russell Wilson right now doesn't look that great. And you watch them against the Rams just get absolutely dominated for 60 minutes of football, and you watch Baker Mayfield light up what was arguably the best defense in the National Football League. So this stuff fluctuates week to week. I think that the thing here though is that Baker Mayfield, if he wins, even win or lose this game, it doesn't matter. But the guy's a franchise quarterback.
The takeaway here, Bengals fan, you need an O-line.
Yeah, I think for this one, for me, if you're saying top 5,
And a good coach would be good too.
top 5 to 10 quarterback in this league, just if he beats Mahomes, I think your best recipe isn't having a shootout with Mahomes. I think that you want to run the ball and do things like that. I don't think you want Baker Mayfield to try to get in a shootout with Mahomes. I don't think anybody wants to get in a shootout with Mahomes. But the other thing is when you have a good team, it works for you and it works against you. So when you win with a good team and you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to get the praise. But when people look at your team at the end of the year, they're going to say he had this monster offensive line. He had 2 amazing running backs. He's got this and that. So it just depends. I mean, top 5 to top 10, like Tony said, it changes every year. It just depends on the year. Depends on what you did this season. It depends on what you did next season. So it can always change. I mean, top 5 to top 10, I'm never going to say that he doesn't have a chance of being that. I don't think that this is the year, though. But if he goes out next season and he throws like 40 touchdowns or something like that, then hell yeah, you're going to say he's top 5 or top 10. But I just think when you look at it from this standpoint, just simply beating Mahomes, no. If he gets a Super Bowl, I think it's debatable. I think it's debatable. Even when Joe Flacco did it and we all were like, nah, he's not top 10. But you couldn't really deny that run of the playoffs and then him having a Super Bowl because then you could look at the next guy and be like, well, Phillip Rivers ain't got no Super Bowl. So it just really depends on what your argument is. Is your argument winning? Because if Baker gets a ring, that puts him at a certain level, right?
Right.
Even though we're not going to say because Lamar has MVPs and Patrick Mahomes has MVPs, we might not give him that. But there's a whole bunch of other quarterbacks that you could say, this guy doesn't have a ring. He doesn't have a ring. Baker has the ring though. So it just really depends on what your criteria for it is. I think he is a great or a good quarterback. I think that he's definitely going to take the next level. I think he's turned the Browns around. That's pretty obvious. He's been a guy that's done it when other guys have failed. We talk about the Jeff Garcias and all of those guys of the world. Baker has surpassed them, has taken this team to the playoffs. So I think it's potentially there. I just don't think just simply beating Mahomes head to head is just going to be like, you're top 5 now. Like I can't go off of that.
But also, Raven fans, I must admit, when Joe Flacco had that playoff run, I was low-key a Joe Flacco style. I thought that was Joe Montana. I mean, not John Elway. I was like, oh my God, this is the dude. This is the dude. It was so, like, people forget it was so dominant. Like, I still hear people till this day talk about how Ray Lewis was a factor on that team. I'm like, no. That was all Joe Flacco.
Well, I think the deer
Joe Flacco and Quan Holden, a little bit of Ray Rice,
the deer antler spray. Like Ray Lewis was a mascot on that team. Like he was not the Ray Lewis. He was there to do his little dance. Everybody, let's do it for Ray, baby. Yeah, and then they got toasted defensively all year. But Joe Flacco came out there. I was like, oh, who's John Elway coming of age in this year? Flacco, I was convinced for like 3 straight years, even when he was playing like dirt, like nah, this dude's still good because of how good he played.
I wasn't. I was glad when you guys gave him that extension. Let Anquan leave, let Avery leave, let Ray Rice go. Okay, good. Yeah, play Flacco.
It was a small.
Ray Rice leave. You know what happened there?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah,
Ed Reed was on the way to retirement because he didn't.
I popped the bottle when Ed Reed left. I'm sorry. So many years of watching Ed Reed pick off Carson Palmer and our guys. When you guys had Kyle Bowler at quarterback, but we're always in the game because Ed Reed's going to return a touchdown or Ray Lewis is going to make a play. I popped the bottle when Ed Reed was out of there.
Yeah.
I didn't care if he was washed up at that point. Just get Ed Reed out of there.
No cover ones, man. With all this joking we did about cover one before the show. Now with Ed Reed out there, no.
Still getting flashbacks about Ed Reed.
You can
And
run
Troy
cover
Polamalu.
zero.
I know
You can
Tony
run-
knows about that. They were roommates at USC. Every time Troy Polamalu would get picked off by Carson Palmer, they would always say that. They just had to bring up that they were roommates at USC. So we got another one here from Misfit Culture TV for $5. Green Bay versus New Orleans is the NFC title game. I can see the Saints defense locking the Bucs offense. I mean, the Saints do own the series 2-0. Misfit does agree with Sonny on that one.
Yeah.
We got Stato here for $10. Browns shouldn't feel disrespected given y'all history. Y'all are a Cinderella. 26 years and you win a playoff game now. I wasn't even born. Heck, the last time y'all won Cinderella was a new movie.
Y'all confuse good story with a Cinderella team. Like that it's a good story. Like the franchise itself has been terrible. But like this team has Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, the best offensive line in football. Like this is not George Mason out here with like dudes who are accountants now just playing in the Final Four with Duke. Like this is not a team this is like playing out of their league, right? Like this is a team that we thought was pretty. At one point when they were on that streak after they beat Tennessee, people were saying they were going to play in the Super Bowl. Like what?
Cinderella is like what the Giants did when the Giants got in as like the last seed and nobody expected them to win anything, and then they just went on this crazy run. To me, that's what a Cinderella is.
Let's be fair right now.
You can't win 10 games and say that you're a Cinderella team. Like I just can't.
If we are fair, of all 8 teams currently in the playoffs,
yes, they are not the favorite.
Yeah. Right? All teams like the Bears did a sneak here, right?
The Bears would have been a Cinderella team.
Exactly.
Nobody thought that they were going to
win. But right now, all of these 8 teams can win it all. Like legitimately.
The Rams aren't winning it all.
The Rams would be a Cinderella team just because of their like.
I forgot about the Rams.
If the Rams trot out Blake Bortles and like go to the Super Bowl, yes, that is a Cinderella story. Like that's Nick Foles carrying. Like, how does this happen? That's Chase Keenum, Case Keenum taking the Vikings to the NFC Championship game. Yeah. Those are Cinderella stories. Yeah. The Browns are just a team that's like, come on now. Like, who said this team was not good enough to win a playoff game? Why is this like a Cinderella? I guess it's a good story though. Like, I get it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the public perception of the team, especially in the matchup that they're in. Yeah. I think there are elements of Cinderella in this, right? I agree with you that they're a good football team, but there are also elements of like the story of it and the fact that they would go into Kansas City with the defending Super Bowl champion and beat the best player in football right now. I think there's some Cinderella-ness there.
There's some underdog.
Got another one here from the real 40 ounce.
He's coming this year. I found it. Says Vegas puts out their future lines for possible games. The Chiefs were favored over the Ravens by 4.5. But -10 versus the Browns is a little much, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I am like Quincy said, he's not a gambler. I'm definitely a gambler. 10 is kind of high. I would definitely take the Browns for sure. And I don't usually gamble on like the spreads because I'm not really good with that. Usually I just take the money line, straight up winners. But 10 is that's pretty.
What is the money line? Is it 3-1? It's got to be like 3-1 odds, right? Let me check it real quick. We'll get.
I might put a flyer on the Browns.
But
by the way,
one unit on the Cleveland Browns.
No, there might be some. Don't bet on the Browns, Tony, because last time you bet on the Browns.
I bet on the Browns before, Quincy. Oh yeah, I've lost some money with the Browns. Y'all have lost me. Y'all have burned me 2 times.
Don't do it. But I'll tell you who to put money on. The Super Bowl odds here, right? The Browns are like at 3,000, right? I mean, that's almost understandable. The Ravens are like plus 800. That's pretty decent. I would take that. I think the Ravens are winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, they have the second worst odds to win.
Yeah, but they have to go. But the problem with that is that their road would be they have to beat the Bills and then they have to beat the Chiefs.
No, right? They also have Browns, man. Browns are winning this week.
But
he's trying to do it.
The game that I have to tell you,
we're getting some reverse jinxing happening.
You got to do story time real quick. The game that I bet on the Browns, the first game last year, was when I think the Steelers had to play Mason Rudolph. And I was like, ain't no way Baker about to lose to Mason Rudolph. Like this can't happen. There's no way.
That game.
And it was a parlay. It was a parlay. So all of my other teams had covered, and I was like, all the Browns have to do is beat the Steelers. That's all they have to do. Like, this isn't Big Ben. This isn't anybody. And you guys ended up, I think there was a pick thrown at the end of the game. I don't even remember. I was so frustrated. I was like, I'm never betting on the Browns again.
You're thinking of the one that the Steelers won last year was Duck started the game.
Duck started.
Yeah. It was 20-13, and it was it was a very strange game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It
was 2 touchdowns that should have easily been intercepted. And he threw 2 touchdowns.
I'm not gonna lie, that +10 makes me feel a lot better about this game coming into it, because that makes me know, oh, okay, it's gonna be a close game, because there's no way the Browns have ever, like, they never cover on bets, like positive or negative. If they're supposed to get blown out, I think what the Tennessee game was like +7 Tennessee or +6.5 Tennessee, and then they just blew them out. Like, it never happens the way that Vegas says it is with this team this year.
All right, so this is the only super chat showing right here. So let me know if this is the latest one, or if there's one that's
there's one above that from.
Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see it at a StreamYard.
I can read it from Marian Kirchbard. Sorry if I botched your name, brother.
Marian Kirchbard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who do you think will set up this week for the Browns? Step up this week for the Browns. It seems like every week someone new steps up. And before we answer that, because I think we should just roll to the Browns, but let's roll to the next super chat, because I don't think it's that one Ace either. There's another one before that. It says, I had never seen, this is from Kyle Duffield. I had never seen a team talk trash after getting killed in the first round like the Steelers. It's getting so old.
Definitely is getting old. Definitely. I mean, for me, it's just like, I think I saw something. I had to listen to Tony and go watch the full thing, because the headline just looked outrageous, because it was like Chase Claypool says that the Browns were classless. And I'm like, really? Because we saw Juju literally say the Browns are just the Browns. Even though he said they were a good team, he still said those words. Like, they danced on teams' logos and stuff like this. So then I click on the video, and it's like Chase Claypool is like, yeah, they were mocking Juju, and I just wanted to defend my teammate. I was like, your teammate was literally mocking every team in the NFL by dancing on their logos before the game. Yes, people are going to mock him back for doing that. It's not like people are just jumping on Juju for no reason. It's not that his mentions are on fire for some inconceivable reason. Like, it just was insane to me. And it reminded me of somewhat the Bengals-Steelers rivalry, because the Steelers narrative has always been the Bengals are dirty and this and that. But then you'll see, like, what's the guy, the guard, I forget what his name is. He, like, goes straight into, like, Vontaze Burfict's legs. And it's like the Bengals are the only team that's dirty. I don't know. I don't know what the Pittsburgh thing is, but they only see things from one perspective. So for me, I just thought that it was kind of weird that he said that, and especially since he went live and said, you know, the Browns are going to get popped next week by the Chiefs. And then he, like, doubled down on it at the end of that interview, and he's like, oh, the Browns are going to be on the couch with me next week. I just don't get it.
Did you see his tweet after that? Because he does this interview, right? But then he tweets about it and he says, oh, guys, don't worry. This is days old. Okay. I've already talked to Browns guys. It reminds me when I was a kid, I was like 5 years old. My dad asked me what I wanted for Christmas. And I said, Dad, I want a new bike. He said, Tony, we just got you a new bike. I said, Dad, no. That bike is months old. So, you know, what are we doing here? Like, this interview is days old. It's Thursday, Chase. It's Thursday. You said this 2 days ago, okay? Oh, we've moved past this now? No one's moved past this, okay? You just said this. This just got said. Shut up. Keep the moral of the story here is just shut up. Don't say anything. That's how you stay out of this, okay? You don't go back and I'm just gonna keep, you know, doubling down and tripling down on this. No, shut your mouth, because once again, if the Browns win this game this week, the story, and I guarantee you're going to see Browns fans or Browns players after the game saying, you know, oh, we're going to get you whatever the phrase that concludes. Oh, we're going to get worked in this one. Yeah, we're going to get worked here. Here we are, Steelers. So, shut up. Just shut up, Steelers. My goodness. Can we just say that we fired Randy Fichtner, please, for one day?
Can we all agree? There is a reason why after you take an L in the NFL, like if you lose in the playoffs, there is a reason you don't hear from dudes for like a couple of weeks after that L. Like, there's a reason dudes don't just be going live the day after they've taken a massive L. It's because when you are just that fresh off a loss, you are going to be salty and you're going to say something really stupid. And Chase Claypool has a case of the stupids. Now, it's been going around in Pittsburgh. You have to admit that one. It started with Stephon Tuitt. That's the one people don't like get on enough. That's the worst one. Where he's like, I ain't even on the field. Like, he's putting the target on his own boy's back and he's not even there to defend it. That can't happen. Where he's like, it should be easy ones. Pad the stats. What? And this is what I tell Steeler fans. We're like, oh, well, it's just Juju that said it, not the whole Steeler team. This is emblematic of the entire team. Yeah. Just like they thought they were it. They thought they were the 2007 Patriots. They bought into themselves, and then it just came crashing down in spectacular fashion. And you know,
team Corvetted after the championship.
And you know what? I have to give some respect to Juju because Juju ain't out here talking about this. Juju ain't out here asking for people to defend him. After the game, Juju was like, I don't regret what I said, but it is what it is. You take an L and you do all this stuff, like, you're going to have to take it. And you know what I mean? He's not out here doing all this ridiculous stuff. It's Chase Claypool out here riding, and he's a rookie. He'll learn. He went to Notre Dame. They're not used to doing good things out there in Notre Dame, or like winning big games out there in Notre Dame. So, and he didn't win any while he was over there. So he'll learn, but I just hope this is not like who the Steelers become, because this is like, even as a Browns fan, I'm like, come on, y'all. Like, really? Like, this could turn into a bad streak. Like, why would you want to antagonize people to this level when you're not even there to play? Like,
it's getting kind of, even as a Bengals fan, I'm like, this is getting kind of circusy.
This is just embarrassing at this point. Like, this is like, come on.
Minka said in his his post-season interview with the media today, he said, it's a tough loss. We're gonna have to lay low for a while, but we'll be better after this. And I said, I read that. I said, Minka, talk to the offense, please. Go talk to Chase Claypool right now.
You got Joe Hayden. You got Joe Hayden coming out the retirement woods of like Twitter. He has not tweeted in like years. He comes out, well, I just got to say, if you win humbly, you got to lose humbly. And they're trying to send a message, but it's the wrong side of the ball. Like, I've never heard of a team that had a defensive back room that was more humble than the wide receivers. I've never heard of this. Like, normally defensive back rooms got chains, everything, because they're trying to overcompensate for a lot. But no, it's the wide receivers that are out here just like, yo, we not taking this L. We refuse to take it. And they're this close to saying, it wasn't us that was bad. It was Ben. Like, they're this close to do work. Chase Claypool is this close because how he was looking through that film, he was like, look, I shook him. I was open. I was doing my thing, baby. You know what I mean? I got my stats. I got my touchdowns.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with him thinking that, right? It's the idea that you go on again. Why put that out publicly? Of course, you're going to think that, right? You should think you're better than the DB. Just don't go on TikTok and brag about it, especially a day after you just got annihilated.
A double-digit loss, like, yo, you know what I mean? You just got to hit all the time for Tomlinisms was now. You know what I mean? Hey, we played a great team. We're gonna regroup in the offseason. Right. We're gonna do our thing. Hats off to them. Wish them well. Hope they're healthy. But we're gonna have to get back and figure some things out so we can get better next year. That's literally all you have to say. That's literally it. But they can't do it. They gotta go live. It's like, why, bro?
So we got another super chat here from the Real 40 ounce for $5. When Vegas puts out their future lines for possible games, the Chiefs were favored over the Ravens by 4.5. 10 by the Browns is a little bit much, maybe.
Like I said, we should be. I mean, again, everyone in chat right now, you guys should be putting money on the Browns plus 10. I mean, it does feel like pretty much.
This is not. Yeah,
drop some super chat on the Browns. That's what we're gonna do, guys.
That's right. I'm definitely dropping a super chat on the Browns this week.
We got another one here from Murray on for $5. Who do you think will step up this week for the Browns? It seems like every week someone new steps up.
Someone new? No, who stepped up last week? Who was new that stepped up last week? I thought all their good players played well.
MJ Stewart.
You got the chats that I read.
Okay, so you already read this one?
Yeah.
All right. This one.
We read that one too.
Yeah, we read that one.
All right.
So you're coming through. By the way, thank you to chat right now. Chat, you guys are killing it with the super chat. So I appreciate it.
All right.
There's one before that.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, we touched on this, but yeah, Claypool needs to keep his mouth shut. There are certain Steelers who are taking this well. Claypool being the one example of the player who is not, and the problem for me is that not only did he not handle it well right after the game, is that he decided to dig deeper when he went on the interview, and then go even a little more when he's trying to play it off like this is days ago, guys. I'm over it now. Oh, great.
By the way, why did he even take the interview? Just let the story go.
I don't know. Somebody just needs to get to him because the media is going to bake these guys into this stuff. I know. The media is going to bake these guys into this stuff. Just like with Baker last year, the biggest thing I think that showed some maturity from Baker was that he didn't give in to like the comments this year like he did last year. It almost became like a vendetta between him and Rex Ryan and stuff. And they're just going to egg on that. And if you respond to it, they're just going to try to get whatever headlines they can because it's all about clicks. It's all about views. It's all about something like he probably was trending after he said that. It probably was like Chase Claypool trending United States, still bitter at the Browns. Yeah. Hashtag saucy. Like,
and it's like, bro, like it's the internet. Like, okay, you said something stupid, whatever, man. Mm-hmm. But like in like 12 hours, everybody was going to forget it. I had already forgot he said it. And then I see the interview pop up like, why did he continue? Why did he take the interview? Once you go on there, you get the backlash like, all right, man, I got to cancel the interview. I can't. And
the guy is egging him on. The reporter is literally reading tweets from Brown players like, he said this. And it's like, come on, you're not going
point, dog. Like, well, it's a Canadian. Claypool's Canadian. The interviewer was Canadian. Was that was kind of the setup there. Was that the Claypool was doing that because it was he's one of the best Canadian players in the National Football League right now. So
that was the background. I'm all for it though. Keep doing toxic things to your team. I'm all for it.
Before this one, let me read it from Josh Z.
Go ahead.
He says, "I wish Romo was not calling the game, not calling games. We have lost every time he calls Browns."
Didn't the Ravens have a streak like that they broke?
Wait. Romo is calling the Browns Chiefs game, not the Bills Ravens game.
Bills that's on NBC.
Oh, okay, interesting. Gotcha. Well, got to work that into my analysis here in a minute.
All right. So Doug has a super chat here. Browns theory: W for your nemesis. W versus the defending champs. W versus the team that was taken from you. Versus the GOAT quarterback, our first Super Bowl, best playoff story ever. Assuming this guy is a Ravens fan, maybe. Not sure if that was a statement, question. I guess, Sonny, do you want to say if this happens, is this the best playoff story ever?
I think this is Browns, right? Win against your nemesis. That's win against the Steelers. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Defend the champion.
Yeah. The team. Yeah, that is the Browns. So, Quincy, that's on you.
Right. This is the Cinderella story. This is why I think this is the Cinderella story we're talking about.
No, it's a great story, but like it's not a Cinderella story. Like this team was not in rags. The franchise was in rags. But this team,
like if you were favored by Vegas, this is Super Bowl odds last year.
You can make a movie out of it. You're not a Cinderella team. This is a good NFL team.
No, that's Cinderella. What he just said is Cinderella. That's Cinderella's story. Would you watch that movie? Would you watch that movie? Of course you would, because it's got a Cinderella type story to it.
It's not a Cinderella story, dog. Like
lose to Tim Tebow in the first round, come back and win. It's a Cinderella story. Lose to Ryan Finley in the regular season.
It's not disrespect, but it is a Cinderella story, right? Because again, you're slaying this dragon, then you're slaying that dragon, then you're slaying that. You know who slays dragons? Fairy tales. You know what's a fairy tale? Cinderella.
It's a redemption story. It's Rocky coming back in Rocky 3 and beating up Drago, who killed his homeboy. That's what this is. It's not a Cinderella story. Yes. Like there is
Rocky is a Cinderella
underdog element to it. It's not Rocky 3. Rocky was the best boxer in the planet on Rocky 3. And then okay, he was not like coming up. This was I'm in Philly running the streets, Rocky. No, this was like world champion, got the aviators on with the robot Rocky. Like no. This was a good Rocky, dog. Like it's a good story. It's not a Cinderella story. They are college football deep at the running back position. They got Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. Baker Mayfield is not like Chase Keenum or whatever. Like this is not a team in rags that you're like, oh my God, how did they get here? And the amazing part is people are thinking this because they beat the Steelers, who went 1-5 at the end of the season. 1-5. Like this was if this
It would have been a Cinderella story if we won.
If the exact same team was like a different franchise, this would not be talked about as a Cinderella story. Just be a normal playoff game. But since it's the Browns, I get it. It's a redemption story for the franchise. But it's not a Cinderella story because a Cinderella story requires somebody being in rags, and the team is this Browns have not been in rags for like 2 years, bro. Like
No,
this
the Browns
Browns
have been in rags. The Browns were 6-10 last year. They were 6-10.
Okay.
Those were nice rags compared for the Browns.
Whoever did this, it's your fault in chat. It's chat's fault.
You acted like this the year after they went 0-16. They went
like if the 49ers would have won the Super Bowl last year, that would have been a Cinderella story because the year before they were like what? They won like
the Browns were 6-10 last year.
Yes, I think a couple of things here. I think what Quincy's saying, it has some truth to it. If you take this roster and just change the jersey to the Patriots and same seeding, same record, nobody will be saying this is a Cinderella story. Now, what Tony's saying also makes a little bit of sense. What makes it a Cinderella story is the history of the Browns going in. That's it. It's not because of the roster. It's not. It's
It's the history.
Was it a Cinderella story when the Patriots won that Super Bowl? Like, was that considered
2000?
a Cinderella story?
When Brady,
like when they had Drew Bledsoe, who was still a good quarterback. Like maybe Tom Brady.
No, Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's a Cinderella story. Yes, it's a rags to riches type thing. Yes, Tom Brady was a nobody, and he came out and beat the greatest team on earth, the greatest show on turf.
Okay, so I think let's compartment that and then let's talk about the game. I think you should start talking about the game.
Talk about the Browns.
Was there a game being played? I thought we were just going to compare Cinderella to like Seven Dwarves.
I mean, some of us do have games to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man! All right, rub it in.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about Cinderella stories, and this is why I disagree with this being a Cinderella story, right? Because it is a underdog story. There's a underdog element to it, but this is not a team that has had no shot in any of these games, including this one. This is a team that does have a very strong chance, a stronger chance than I think most people are willing to say that they have. Here is why they have a stronger chance. Yes, the Kansas City Chiefs are amazing. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback I have ever seen physically. Just amazing. He's an alien out there. He is so dangerous. He's so hard to contain. All those things. And then he has Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman, Travis Kelce. Their fullback can catch pretty good. Like they got pieces on top of pieces on top of pieces on that team. But the one area in which they are not stacked at all is that offensive line. And if you look at quote unquote upsets in the NFL, how do upsets happen in the NFL? How do teams come up with outcomes that people weren't expecting? How did the Rams beat the Seattle Seahawks last week? How did the Jets beat the Cleveland? How did the Jets win 2 games against 2 teams in the divisional round? How did they do this? Because they had 2 games where their defensive line dominated the line of scrimmage, and out of nowhere, their offensive line just played well. How did the Bengals beat the Titans this year? Their offensive lines showed up. The defensive line kind of showed up against Tennessee. But my point is, if you have a chance to win both lines of scrimmage, I don't care what the roster disparity is. I don't care what the talent disparity is. You have a chance to win any football game in which you can do that. And the reality is, the Browns have a strong chance to do this because Kansas City, while being one of the least blitzed teams in football, right? Nobody in their right mind is going to send 7 people at Patrick Mahomes for obvious reasons. And again, it's one of my big keys to the game. Don't blitz Patrick Mahomes. It's the dumbest thing you can do. Patrick Mahomes is like 16-1. Oh, we got a Steeler fan who sent that one. But Patrick Mahomes has a 16-1 touchdown interception ratio. He's ridiculous when you blitz him. Don't blitz him. That's stupid. That's a recipe for failure. You cannot blitz Patrick Mahomes. What you can do against Patrick Mahomes is dominate the line of scrimmage and force that offensive line to bottleneck that offense. You won't limit them to no points, obviously, but you can keep them to like 20, 28, limit their possessions, take over time of possession by doing that. And the Browns are in position to do that. Now, it's going to be a little bit more of an uphill battle than it is on the other side of the ball, but Myles Garrett is somebody who can definitely take over a game. And what's going to be interesting is how is Kansas City going to be able to protect them? Because the Steelers had the luxury of not having a bunch of tight ends and running backs that they cared if they were out there receiving to get the ball or not. Like their whole priority was Myles Garrett, block Myles Garrett before you run your route, check where Myles Garrett is before you go to the flat. We're going to rotate. We're going to double. We're going to do all these things to make sure Myles Garrett does not get off. And he did not get off. They have been successful in that all 3 games. Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to keep Clyde Edwards-Helaire off from receiving the ball to block Myles Garrett. They're not going to keep Travis Kelce in to block Myles Garrett. These are luxuries that they don't have because they're just too good. That Pittsburgh did because it didn't matter, right? So that being said, that either means Myles is just going to get a regular double team and everybody else is going to get really clean one-on-ones, or they're going to single up Myles Garrett. And if they do that, Myles Garrett's going to disrupt that offensive line. He's going to be able to get back there. Now, the reason you don't want to blitz is because, you can get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. You might not get home on Patrick Mahomes because he is slippery. He's sturdy. And if he breaks that pocket, it's over. Tyreek Hill's open somewhere. If that pocket breaks contained, it's over. It's open. Old days where Big Ben would break the pocket and Antonio Brown just find a way to the end zone and they would score, but on steroids. So that's what you don't want to do. What you need to do is get pressure with your front four. If you can get that, you can slow down this Chiefs offense. You can force a couple of 3-and-outs, and you can limit possessions, and you can take over time of possession by doing that. On the other side of the ball, and this is a side of the ball that people aren't talking about, I think because people are wrapped up in saying this is a Cinderella story, they're ignoring that the Browns have one of the best offenses in football. Like, this is the part where it doesn't make sense that they're a Cinderella story, right? The Browns have put up almost 40-plus points on what was the best defense in football. Like, they were injured, they were down, but still that defense being injured and down, pretty good. The week before, they put up 24 when they were actually playing decently. This is a team that's put up massive points on some good defenses. The Baltimore Ravens, the Browns almost put up 50 points against the Baltimore Ravens. 40 points on the Baltimore Ravens, something ridiculous like that. The Browns have put up higher point totals in single games than the Kansas City Chiefs have. They are an explosive offense, and we know they can score fast, they can score slow, they can control the tempo of the game. If they need to come back, they can do that. If they need to score and slow the game down, they can do that. And when you look at the Chiefs' defensive line, the only thing standing in the Browns' way is Chris Jones, who is a monster. Frank Clark has not been as good, and I don't know anybody else of note on that defensive line other than Chris Jones and Frank Clark. There's nobody there that is super notable, right? You talk about nameless gray faces. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just rubbing a Tom.
Positive vibes only. Positive vibes only, Quincy.
But you look at that, right? And the Browns, where's their strength on that offensive line? It's all in the interior. That's where you have Joe Bitonio. That's where you have Wyatt Teller. That's where you have I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. I love this. J.C. Treader. 3 guys who are top 10 in their position group, hands down. They're really good offensive linemen. And then you're pretty good 1 through 5, tackle to tackle, Jedrick Wills, Jack Conklin, if you can get them back for this game. So that tells me, you could just combo block or you don't have to do a lot of elaborate stuff to worry about Chris Jones. And I think even if you match up one-on-one with them, you can win a decent amount of your battles against Chris Jones. So if they can't get pressure with Chris Jones, that's their defensive line's way of getting pressure. And what we've learned about this Browns offense is that the only way you're going to be able to slow them down, or the teams that have slowed them down, are the teams that can penetrate on the line of scrimmage consistently. If you don't do that, you're going to have a litany of problems because Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt will go off. They will break tackles. They will get to the second level. Baker Mayfield has proven for the last 10 weeks, if you don't get pressure on him, you might get cooked. It has a strong chance of happening. If Pittsburgh got cooked with Minkah Fitzpatrick out there, if Baltimore got cooked a little bit with Marcus Peters, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphreys, and Deshaun Elliott out there, it can happen to the Kansas City Chiefs, who they're good on defense. They're not as deep as some of the defenses that the Browns played. So the Browns are in position to be able to win that line of scrimmage, and I think they can really, if they want to, and come out playing like they should, dominate the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of the ball. If they can win most of their battles on that defensive side of the ball, you're talking about a game in which the Browns have the control, and that offense is still that offense. So I think the Browns, their pathway to victory is not as narrow as a lot of people think, and I do think the Browns have a great chance to win this game. It's all going to come down to execution. It's all going to come down to how good Denzel Ward can be coming back off the list, how good Joe Bitonio can be coming back off the list. Can you have Jack Conklin, and will Myles Garrett finally, for the first time in 5 weeks, be Myles Garrett again, right? Because That's going to be a factor because they're not going to have the resources to just let everybody benefit from overprotecting towards Miles. So Miles is going to have to be Miles. We're going to need that from him. We're going to need Myles Garrett to step up, Larry Ogunjobi to step up, Sheldon Richardson, and maybe Porter Gustin or Adrian Claiborne, whichever one wants to step up. But if that happens against the Chiefs, that is a very possible way you can beat the Chiefs, right? These offensive players, the skill players they have, they're great. They're like a super fast jet, right? It's awesome to look at. They're beautiful to look at. But if it can't get off the tarmac, it's not going to go anywhere, or it's not going to go as fast as you want. Or it's like having a Corvette on the highway. You know, yeah, it could go 180, but the speed limit 60, baby. Like, it ain't really that much you could do, you know? So that's what is going to have to happen for the Browns. And I think the possibility of that happen, like, it's not crazy to think Myles Garrett has a good game against the Chiefs, right? It's not crazy to think that the best offensive line in football can do its thing against a defensive line that's not the best defensive line in football. It's not crazy to expect these things to happen. So this is where I get frustrated with the 10-point spread, because I'm like, if you look at those factors, there's no way this is a 10-point spread. That's a little ridiculous. But let it be what it's be, right? This team kind of thrives on little petty disrespect like that. All right, let that be what it be. Come out, play physical on both lines of scrimmages. If you do that and you win those battles, you can win this game. Patrick Mahomes is a beast. Nothing is guaranteed. That offense is explosive, is all get off. But even if they're just explosive and get a couple of plays, but don't take a lot of time off, that's also to the Browns' favor, because time of possession will be a key in this game. Yes. And the Browns are in position to dominate time of possession. Now, if they go down 14 early, then it's a wrap at that point, right? But if they come out and play well and don't let the score get out of hand early, or God forbid go up early, then they have a strong chance. This game should be a lot closer in people's heads because of the matchups than people should expect.
Yeah, I think so. For me, I think that this game is definitely a lot closer than people are thinking. Number one, with us being in a year with people not being able to be in stadiums, that's going to be a factor, right? Kansas City playing in front of that home crowd with a full stadium is one of the hardest things to have to go into on the road and play at. They're not going to have that. That's a factor. That happens in the playoffs and stuff like that. That definitely factors in. Guys can't get plays in and stuff like that. The other thing is this. Everyone is expecting the Chiefs to win. There are no expectations for the Browns. The Browns already made the playoffs. Browns upset the Steelers. Like, there's nothing, like, if the Browns lose this game, who cares? You lost to the best team essentially in football. But all the pressure is on the Kansas City Chiefs. If the Kansas City Chiefs lose to the Cleveland Browns, that is a disaster for them, because they went 14-2, because they were the favorite. For them to go out immediately, the first playoff game that they play, because they had a bye week, the first game that they play, if they were to lose in this round, that is going to reflect badly on them. So I think the pressure is really kind of on them, ironically, to kind of come out and get this win. The other thing is this. The Chiefs don't have a good run defense. The Browns are one of the best teams in the NFL at running the ball. And all they have to do, the best option for them, keep the ball out of Pat Mahomes' hands. How do you do that with any elite quarterback? You run the ball. You use that time of possession like Quincy talked about. They can do that. They're also a team, like Quincy said, and that kind of shocked me in the first couple of weeks. They can put up points. The Browns can score easily over 30, 40 to 50 points a game. So it's not like we haven't seen them do that. The shootout, though, is not the route that you want to go. And that's what I was referencing early in the game. If they try to do a shootout, Pat Mahomes is going to win that all day. But if you try to force him to adjust to the running game and all of that and keeping him off of the field, that's your best shot. And I think that that's what Stefanski has to do in order for the Browns to win this game. The other thing, like Quincy said, is Myles Garrett has to be a factor, right? He's got to be able to get to Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is going to do his thing. He's going to throw for 300-400 yards. It just is what it is, right? But you got to try to contain him. You just can't let him go crazy and go nuclear to the point where this game is a stretch and it's hard for Baker to even get back into this game. But I definitely think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think. And it may be decided on who receives the ball. Like, if I'm the Browns and we win the coin toss, I'm taking the ball immediately, because I'm going to start running and all of that immediately. Yes, I am taking it, because if Pat Mahomes comes down and he starts the races and stuff like that, I don't want that. I want the ball immediately. I want to have my team on the football field and doing that. Because I mean, yeah, if Pat Mahomes gets the ball at halftime, so what? But if he comes in and he just immediately just starts going crazy, like it's hard for Baker to respond to a touchdown from Pat Mahomes. So if I'm the Browns, I would want to get the ball immediately. But I do think it's hard to pick against Kansas City. I do think Kansas City will likely win this game, but I wouldn't be shocked if there was an upset of the Cleveland Browns winning this game because Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt just look unstoppable like they have been when they're rolling on all cylinders. And we saw it last week, and I've never seen a team that has anyone physical enough in the trenches at the defensive line to really stop them. And I definitely don't see it in Kansas City at all. So to see that, we'll have to see what happens there. Big game for Baker, but this isn't the game that I'm rolling with Baker throwing 30 or 40 times a game. I'm running it 40 to 50. I don't even care. I'm probably running it 40 to 50 attempts in this game to try to keep Pat Mahomes off the field as much as possible and keep them at bay. I'm putting Denzel Ward on Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is going to get off because he's Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce is going to kill you because he's Travis Kelce. Andy Reid is a great coach, so you just have to come in with the right game plan and hope that it works. Honestly, like you just have to pray that it's going to work. I mean, honestly, I think everybody assumes that the Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl favorites. So what do you have to lose? Do whatever you can do to get that win and build upon it. So with that being said, I slightly have the Chiefs. Wouldn't be surprised if the Browns do pull it off, though.
We got some super chats to get to.
So we got one from Robert. I don't know if this is the latest and greatest.
There's one more before this, but yeah, we can do this one.
There was Misfit Culture. I put it on the screen. He said, y'all missed my super chat, but Cleveland for the upset. Gotcha. Too many people saying Ravens versus Chiefs in the title game. We them same old Browns.
Yeah. I will say this. I'm picking the Browns outright to win this football game. You know, there's a lot people you hit on Ace, right? You when you look at this game, you say, well, this is the formula for beating a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. Right? You have a team that comes in, control the line of scrimmage, run the football, control possession, and that has always been the key to beating these kind of high flying offenses. But there are a bunch of other things against the Chiefs in this game. Look, I know the Chiefs are a 14-2 team. They really only lost one game this year because of the last game they lost was with all the starters sitting on the bench. But Steelers, look, mid-season we would have said the Chiefs are going to run away with this. But as the season has worn on, I think the Chiefs have shown, well, you know what? Maybe they're not completely unstoppable. Because Steeler fans said all year, while everyone was ragging on the Steelers for having these close games and then they started losing, Steeler fans saying, well, hey, how come you're not ragging on the Chiefs too? The Chiefs are playing close games. The Chiefs are playing close games. Yeah.
To add to your point, Chiefs, this is the last 8 games. Chiefs beat the Panthers by 2 points. Chiefs beat the Raiders by 4 points.
Right.
The Buccaneers by 3. The Broncos by 6. Dolphins by 6. Saints by 3. Falcons by 3. The Chargers, they lost to the Chargers.
That was the backups. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the backups. Yes. But so if you think about, if we just don't take in consideration the Chargers game, it's not that they're beating good teams by close margins. They're beating bad teams by close margins.
No, that's right. Let me. Can I share my screen real quick? I'm gonna share. Yeah, let me share the screen real quick because I want to show you guys. You guys know I'm big on EPA. I don't know if we can. Ace, can you put my screen up?
Yep. Sorry, I was responding to a comment there about how I pronounce the Kansas City Chiefs.
Gotcha. All right. So this is a chart of the EPA for the season, right? So the axis here is going to be your offense, and then the Y is going to be your defense. So teams up here, right? These are good teams, are good offense, good defense, right? You can see it's broken up into tiers, right? So the Chiefs, great offense and an average defense, right? And Browns, very good offense, average defense. That's for the entire year. And I think that's the perception that we have going into this game, right? Is that defensively, both teams, look, neither team has a great defense. It's going to be separated by whose offense can really come out and play great football. But let me show you another one here. This is just the last month of the season. And I think this tells you everything you need to know, because all of a sudden now the Chiefs offense has taken a huge step backwards. And by the way, the Browns have taken a huge step forward. It's not going to shock me that the Browns are going to come out and outplay the Cleveland Browns. And the other thing we should talk about in this game is Andy Reid as a coach, because somehow Andy Reid has just shed the idea that in the playoffs, it's Andy Reid and he's going to blow the big game. We think about that because that's who he was. last year he won the Super Bowl, but let's not forget that he won the Super Bowl last year with his team going down big in every single game that they were in, and then Patrick Mahomes digging them out of that in the second half. That's every single game they played last year. In fact, they were down embarrassingly to the Texans in that game until Bill O'Brien decided to out-bad coach Andy Reid. Stefanski is going to win Coach of the Year for a reason. This is a guy who is not blowing games late. In fact, he's going out and out-coaching, and even his coaching staff, when he's not there, is out-coaching a guy like Mike Tomlin. I like the Browns in this football game for even the intangibles in this game. I like the coaching staff for the Browns more than I like the coaching staff for the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs are not playing good football right now. That game against the Falcons, has as many alarm bells to it as some of the games we saw the Steelers play. The fact that the Chiefs at home with a chance to get home field advantage can only put up 17 points, and 17 points late in that football game. That was a last-second touchdown they scored to beat the Falcons to clinch home field. And then they just shut it down. Again, I think the Chiefs have a lot more problems, and the Browns present all the problems that the Chiefs have trouble with, which is if you can just rush 4 and sit back and Patrick Mahomes has been talked about how much he has trouble with cover 3. That's where you're going to beat him. And the Browns are absolutely going to do that. I don't think they're going to rush 5 or 6 in this game. No, they're going to sit and they're going to hope that Myles Garrett can beat his guy. And certainly guys like Ogunjobi and Sheldon Richardson can do their thing. And they're going to cause Patrick Mahomes some problems. And as long as Baker Mayfield, doesn't revert back to 2019 Baker Mayfield, well, then that offense is going to move the football against this Chiefs. And we're going to have a very competitive football game. And honestly, the only thing that worries me about this is going to sound crazy. The only thing that worries me for the Browns in this game is that the Browns have actually been susceptible to, once they get a big lead, they allow teams back in a little bit. We saw that against Tennessee, and we saw that against the Steelers, right? And these are games where they were up big points. Mahomes is a different animal in that case. And I guess I would worry some way that could happen, that you could see a huge Patrick Mahomes comeback in this game. But let's not forget, that's what it took every single week last year for this Chiefs team to win the Super Bowl. They're not invincible. There's not an invincible Chiefs team. In fact, right now, the Cleveland Browns are playing better football overall than the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll take the Browns outright in this football game.
I think Tony shared this on purpose because the Bengals are all the way in the back. I see that, Tony. I see that little dig there. Okay,
no, he don't want to share that, because if you look at that one, the Steelers are not that far from the Bengals.
That's right. And you can see, we can go back to that chart, but there's a ton on there that I think is instructive for what happened last week, right? You can see that the Saints are obviously a much better team than the Bears, but even the Rams and Seahawks, right? That game wasn't super close, but the Rams defense being the big part of that game, and their offense being as trash as it was. So I think there are certainly, and by the way, the Browns and the Steelers here, it's about right. The Steelers defense had regressed by the end of the year, and that offense was playing some of the worst football in the league. I think this is very instructive. And again, I think this is why Browns fans should be not just a quiet confidence, you could be openly confident that this team can come in and beat this Kansas City Chiefs team.
Ooh. All right. Before we get to Sonny, got a couple super chats here. Robert, let's not forget the Browns are a play action team. Steelers took that away from us all year. No one else has. Play action heavy. Baker will shine. I got another one here. Tristan Green for $5. Over under is only 57 right now for 2 of the most prolific offenses in the game. Pat and Baker, 4 TDs each. I'll take that.
I don't want that to happen, right? That's emblematic of a game that the Browns don't want to get into. Because if they're firing, that's not it. That's not good.
Yeah.
One rich dev for $5. The Chiefs struggle against 2 high safeties, which is why we've seen all these close games. When you blitz, that's where they get their points.
Yes. Exactly.
Finally, the league 3 years in has gotten the memo. Hey, don't blitz Patrick Mahomes. Maybe not a great idea to blitz somebody who could throw the ball off 1 foot 70 yards downfield, and that's the fastest man in the world to throw it to. Yeah.
Right. Corey frickin' Preston, $5. Pat has been mistake prone all season. He has the most dropped interceptions in a season ever. Can only get away with those for so long. So who knows? Got another one here from Jamar Sanders for $2. He says,
all right.
Tony, you are insane.
We'll see. Look, very easy for me to be wrong in this one, because if, and there is the idea, and I saw it in chat, right, that the Chiefs are a different animal in the playoffs. They're going to flip the switch. Well, maybe they flip the switch, but again, you are just saying that because you believe it, not because of anything you've seen on a football field.
I'm going to make one very short.
One real quick thing, Sonny, before you say
I'm not a believer in flipping the switch in the playoffs.
Not AFC North related, but Urban Meyer officially has become the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Go ahead, Sonny.
I'm surprised of all your picks, to be honest, because I was gonna pick the Browns, and I thought I was gonna be here a lone wolf.
We're AFC North homers. We're just homers for the AFC.
Well, my reasoning has been, what I think. One of the things I love is the trenches, and the Browns had the better trenches in both
I
sides.
knew where Sonny was going with this.
Trenches,
Shit, right? When I did the film, I was like, "Oh, I know where Sonny's going, baby."
Yeah, and then the other thing is time of position. I know some people are like, "Oh, time position doesn't matter because Kansas City can just roll touchdowns left and right." Well, if the Browns are winning 10, 14 points, even if they're winning 7, and then they can just put off a drive, 8-minute drive, even if they finish with a field goal. Right now, Kansas City has to score back, and then the Browns can go ahead and slow it down again, right? And that is the main thing. If the Browns can take a lead, I agree with you, Quincy. You don't want a shootout. Actually, what you want is to slow the game down. Just bleed them with rushing and just get that O line of you just manhandle their D line, right? I came from a podcast with a Buffalo person, and he was like, "Well, how we defend the Ravens? Maybe we don't give out the big run." I'm like, "Oh, that's fine, but if I can give you 4 yards per clip every time, that's fine. I might not have any explosive runs, but I beat you like that because 4 yards a clip. Now I have a long touchdown drive, right? And my defense is fresh because I think one thing, the defensive line of the Browns will dominate, in my opinion, the offensive line of the Chiefs. The problem is, can they dominate it to the effect that the passing game can slow down? And that's the big question because, as Quincy was saying, Mahomes can just throw it up there and say, Hill, you go get it, bro. You go get it. So we'll see. But I think Browns win this game upright too. As now the spread, I think they win upright. I think the Browns will dominate the scrimmage and they'll control it. And I think the Browns will be celebrating. They're going to the AFC championship. And Patrick Mahomes, I don't think it's going to be because Patrick Mahomes is going to have a bad game. I think the Browns are going to scheme a good game plan. I think the Browns have what it needs, what all the tools that they need to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah. So that brings us to the Ravens game. So we're all picking the Browns. Well, no, I actually picked the Kansas City Chiefs. I did pick the Kansas City Chiefs. I saw there's some Chiefs fans in there trying to say that we're all fanboys. I just said that I like the Browns' chances, but I did pick the Chiefs there. So we're moving on to the next one. Sonny, let's start with the Ravens and Bills. This is going to be a good game, I think. I hope so. I don't want to jinx it, but I think it's going to be a good game. Sonny, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think it's going to be a close game. Snow or not snow, I mean, that won't matter, but I'm just going to take it as it's going to be slippery, but maybe not snowing. This Buffalo defense or Buffalo team, their offense is pretty good, right? It's one of the best in the league, right? They have been clicking in Austin, especially at the end of the year. The Ravens just came out playing a good team on offense on the running side. Well, this is on the other side. This is a great team on the passing side. The running side is questionable, though Josh Allen likes to just take it and run sometimes. I think this is a team that the Ravens need to come. They will blitz him, and I know the stat says, well, if you blitz Allen, he will tear you apart. And I think it's because he has the escapability, and then he finds a guy like Diggs or Smokey Brown. They can stretch the field. I think if the Ravens come similar to the Titans with the discipline, just keeping the pocket in containment, right? And the outside linebacker, if you go back and watch the Tennessee Titans game, the outside linebacker, as I was saying, you're basically playing the boring side, meaning if they're trying to fake you to the right, you don't over pursue, you stay put, and then he was attacking. This is why Henry didn't have that many games, right? He was putting the foot on the ground and trying to cut back. There was a defender there, right? So similar, I think that will prevent Josh Allen to escape. That will prevent Josh Allen to keep it and going. The Baltimore Ravens team have been better tackling lately, which is very important because with Josh Allen, if you have a chance to tackle Josh Allen, you have to tackle Josh Allen. You cannot let him break tackles. You cannot let him dance inside the pocket. So on offense, I think the Ravens need to pressure Josh Allen. I think the corners, I think they're going to have Marlon on Diggs, and they're going to try to see if they can get away just having Marlon and Diggs one-on-one. Diggs is super fast, super shifty. if for some reason Marlon Humphrey's having problems, then you're going to see that safety going over the top. But if Marlon Humphrey can slow down Stephon Diggs, right, then that starts being more complicated for the Bills, because how Diggs and Allen goes as a connection is how that team goes. When they're having big games, that offense is clicking, because when Diggs is having a big game, that means the deep passes is working. That means the offense gets more explosive. That means the underneath is also open. That's where you see them Beasley, the tight end, and Smokey Brown a little bit too, getting some of the tractions, right? The offensive line for the Buffalo Bills not great. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, man.
Hold on, Sonny. I just had to stop the show for 1 second. Hey, guys, and the chat is getting a little crazy. Like, there's certain stuff that we're not going to tolerate in the chat. Please keep it classy, and please just don't talk about things that are inappropriate. We appreciate that. Go ahead, Sonny. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention to the chat, so my bad.
Oh, you're good, man. You got to talk, man.
So, okay, so I think the Ravens corners, remember, we had 3 healthy corners for this game. I think that is key. I think the D-line also has to come into weight. They have to figure out how to pressure without blitzing. If we pressure without blitzing, it's going to be a long day for Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
I think the defense can slow down. I mean, if you see the Bills play against the Colts, that Colts game, the Colts should have won that game. I keep saying it was competent by their coaching is why they're lost, the Colts. Now, on the other side, as I was talking again with a Buffalo fan, they were like, well, we just going to play zone coverage. That's what we like. And look, the reality is Lamar plays better in zone coverage, meaning passing the ball. Because Willie Snead is amazing, just finding the soft spot. We're not going to burn you for big yards, but Willie Snead can find you the soft spot, 7-8 yards. Mark Andrews loves playing against zone, right? And Lamar can sit there and just see, right? There's no anticipation. He can see that zone, the holes, and just throw it. The problem for Lamar is playing more on man coverage, right? Mm-hmm. So, yes, you're saying, well, with zone, you limit the big explosion on runs. And that is true. And this is why I was saying, yeah, but now my passing game can be more effective, and still my running game can be effective. The thing is, we might not have 50-yard runs, but I can have 6, 7, 4, 5. And if the Ravens are just moving the ball like that, 5 yards here, 6 yards there, 7 yards passing, right? They're just going to move the ball down, and they're going to score you a touchdown on you. And they're going to control the time of possession. And then what's going to happen is that now you have to change your defense. You have to go with what other defense go against the Ravens. You have to basically box. Ravens, basically every game that they play against 8 and 9 boxes, right? And if your defense is just accustomed to zone schemes, now, even though Lamar is bad against man, or not bad, but that's not his best suit, well, those corners are not used to playing man. The safeties are not used to being in that box with so many people, and that is what the Ravens do. Even though you have eight people in the box, because you have so many, people get confused, people get tangled, and still we produce the big run. This has been the reality in the past couple of weeks, right? Throughout this run, Lamar said it. I'm not playing shy anymore. Basically, I'm just gonna be me. I'm gonna just be Lamar, and as long as Lamar is being Lamar, I think the Ravens win this game. Now, I think we win in a close one. I have the Ravens winning 30-27. And if it is snowy, like people are saying, I don't know. If it is bad, snowing bad, I still think that just run, right? That helps the run. The passing game is effective and more. So people are saying, well, if it is snowing, that's a advantage Bill because Allen has a cannon arm. Well, he will have better throws than Lamar in the snow, but it will affect the passing side. So I still take the Ravens, even if it snows. I actually think we're going to have an AFC North rematch on the AFC Championship.
So that segues right into the Super Chat. Michael Mitchell, $4. Baltimore and Cleveland in the AFC Championship. Got a couple other ones to get through. Trib, appreciate that, Trib, $2. Saints 24-14, Browns 34-32, Packers 28-17, us 32-24. So I think us is the Ravens. And Soul Train for $10. If it snows in Buffalo, does that give Josh Allen an advantage because of his strong arm and bad weather? Also, besides Baker, how many rushing yards combined do Chubb and Hunt need for the Browns win? I think Sonny kind of answered the snow one. And if you ever played fantasy, and I think it was the first round of the playoffs like 3 or 4 years ago, and it snowed and Shady McCoy ran for like 300 or 400 yards, yes, it helps the run game. That happened to me. I was the number 1 seed, and Shady McCoy, the guy that got in with the AC that had Shady McCoy, took me out because of that. So it's definitely going to help that run game way more. But Quincy, how many rushing yards combined do Chubb and Hunt need for a Browns win?
I mean, I think Baker's still going to be able to move the ball healthily, so I don't think it's going to have to be like a ridiculous like 300-yard game. But, somewhere in that 200, 250-yard game that they average, like they can have that. And as long as the Browns finish in the red zone, they can do those things. That will be a good result. Do you want me to just go into the Buffalo game from here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because the question about if it's the snow, and I get the Buffalo is the home team, but like if it's the snow, that clearly, like, let's be honest, that clearly advantage Ravens if that happens, right? Because the Buffalo Bills are not renowned for stopping the run or running the ball. Like, that's two things that they don't want to do. They can drop back and maybe they can run Josh Allen a little bit, but running him to death to the point to where, like, that's your main option. Like, he's their best running back in Buffalo. So I don't know if that's the result they want. But I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to win this one. And I'm not trolling here. I'm not trying to do a reverse jinx or anything like that, because I do want to see the Ravens if the Browns can make it to the AFC Championship. I'm not doing this.
Quincy,
I think the Ravens
playoff, right? He said the chance.
I think the Ravens match up too good against this Buffalo team. I think this is going to be a blowout. I think this is going to be very similar to that game they played against the Patriots in 2019. This is a game where everything going into it, how hot the Ravens are, how hot that run game is going into it, this is not the matchup that Buffalo wants. And let's not forget, Buffalo was not crisp against Indianapolis, right? They looked a little worse than you would think they were, given how hot they were coming into this game. So all of those things considered, as well as Lamar Jackson's running the ball, J.K. Dobbins finally getting his due in that offense, and Gus Edwards being a huge part of the power game there. I just don't see how Buffalo stops that. This is one of those games, and we know Baltimore plays in either really close games or like extreme blowouts. This is one of those games where Baltimore can get up 14 early and then it's over, right? And then you talk about on the defensive side of the ball, right? Calais Campbell, as strong as that defensive front is, they're going to shut down any run that's going to try to exist there for Buffalo. And then you have really solid corners, and they're all healthy now, right? You got Jimmy Smith back finally. You got all of your guys. You're as healthy as you've been all year in that secondary. And that secondary's been good for the second half of this year. And Josh Allen is much better. Josh Allen is good. I don't want the Josh Allen stands coming from my neck acting like I don't think Josh Allen is good. But Josh Allen does have the tendency to do a couple of things that you can get away with against like 28 other teams in the NFL, right? Where he rolls out and he just looks for Stephon Diggs. He just throws it up to Stephon Diggs, and Stephon Diggs makes that play. Against Marcus Peters, that might not happen. Against Marlon Humphreys, that's really not going to happen. And you have to also factor in that Marlon Humphreys will force a fumble at some point, right? Like, he's like Peanut Tillman back in the day. Shout out to those who remember Peanut Tillman. But like that Bears team in like 2012 where they were just punching out balls, Baltimore does that. It's not a talked about thing about that defense, but they can do those things as well. And Josh Allen does throw a lot of interceptions that just don't get caught nowadays. So all of those things going into it, this is not a recipe for success for the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills aren't in a good positional matchup with the Baltimore Ravens, and the Baltimore Ravens have everything they need going for them in this matchup. Let's remember, Buffalo has struggled against teams that can run the ball well. Remember how bad they looked against the Tennessee Titans early in the year when the Tennessee Titans did not have practice. Like, these are things that can really hurt the Buffalo Bills, and these are just happen to be things that the Baltimore Ravens are doing at like historic levels right now. And I think that's going to combine for what looks like to me on the outside looking in, a blowout. Not trolling, not trying to be funny. Like, I legitimately think this is a blowout. This won't be close. And it's not because the Bills aren't a good team. It's just sometimes you draw the wrong matchup, and that's everything in this league, especially when you get to this point where these teams are this good. The matchup is too favorable for Baltimore for this game to be, you know, a double overtime thriller. Now, maybe Josh Allen goes out there and completely balls with Stephon Diggs and proves me wrong, or this run defense shows up, but that's asking for one thing to happen in that run defense to show up that has not shown up all year. So, yeah, I know the Bills guys were talking about they could stop it. You know, it was going to be 10, 20-yard runs. They've never played Lamar Jackson. Also, there's no such thing as, we're going to keep Lamar to 5-7-yard runs. We're going to limit it. No, that is nobody in the history of Lamar Jackson playing football has ever successfully done that when Lamar was running like he is now. Like, you might think you're going to stop Lamar. There's a lot of runs I've saw Lamar run where you're like, he stopped for 5 yards. He goes for like 40 and scores. Like, this is not the game that Buffalo wants. Buffalo would have much preferred Pittsburgh not get beat because that was a game Buffalo would win by landslide. But this game right here, this matchup with Baltimore, I like Buffalo fans. I don't want them mad at me, but I just don't see this one being close.
So one thing I want to ask is, we talked about the Browns being a Cinderella story. Are the Bills not a Cinderella story?
No, they made the playoffs last year. I mean, you know, last
they
year
won
they won their first playoff game for
the same year that the Browns did.
Right, but so in that way you could maybe argue, but again, they made the playoffs last year. It's not again the Browns went from 6-10, right, and firing Freddie Kitchens to 11-5 and beating and possibly retiring Ben Roethlisberger, right?
The Browns have like so many first round picks. They have good.
Yeah, the Bills have
great players. They have great players.
Well, I get the point that Tony is saying though. Like let me give Tony his credit on this. Like it is. I get the point. If you look at it, 6-10 team. And then now they're like 11-5. Like that is a huge jump. But also remember, the 6-10 was a massive disappointment to what that team was supposed to do. And that's what factors into it. Where it's like, okay, this is more like a team that finally got its stuff together. You know what I mean? In its second year, more than a team that just came out of nowhere. Because when I think of a Cinderella team, I think of a team that just literally came out of nowhere. That you were like, how are they good? You know, out of nowhere. This is not a team that came out of nowhere. This is just a team people had their doubts about because they disappointed and outcoached themselves and shot themselves in the foot all last year with Freddie Kitchens at staff. So I get what people are saying. It is a great story. There is a underdog element with the team and the franchise and what they did in recent years, but also like, let's not talk about this team like the roster is not good.
Right.
So for me,
the Browns are like Cinderella if she was like really smart but just didn't study for her SATs, and that's why she ended up cleaning for a living. And then all of a sudden, you know what I mean?
The Browns are the Cinderella, like how Cam Newton was a Cinderella at Auburn, right? Like he was a 5-star recruit. He just messed up at Florida, went to JUCO, and now he's a Cinderella. He was Cam Newton this entire time. You know?
Right, and I think again, the roster, some of the roster stuff, can't matter here because again, you have to talk about the history of the franchise and where they are. And again, the fact they turned it around so quickly. Again, the Bills are a progression here, right? The Bills last year, second in the division, still got swept by the Patriots last year, but then still made the playoffs, and now this year win the division, right? Now, now can they progress further? I think that's why it's less of a Cinderella to me than what the Browns are doing because the Browns are all at once.
Okay. So Soul Train for $5 here says, even though I love the Browns, Tre'Davious White is going to be a huge factor for the Bills. That's just going to bring it to like my stance on this game. The fact that the Bills cannot stop the run just makes me really worried for them in this game. I like what Josh Allen is doing. I like what their offense is doing. Yes, they've had some very quality wins. Yes, they're having an amazing season. Yes, they are extremely explosive as an offense. But the way that Baltimore plays is they're going to run the ball like regardless. And if you can't stop it, you're talking to a guy that has a literal highlight against my team of Lamar Jackson putting our linebacker in a spin cycle. Lamar Jackson can break a game open, especially with the run. And if you're just struggling against regular running teams with non-mobile quarterbacks, you're definitely going to struggle even more against a guy like Lamar Jackson. So this game, to me, is about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Those two are dueling. And given the defense, I think that's what it comes down to. I think the Ravens, like you guys pointed out to, Stephon Diggs, he's one of my favorite receivers in the NFL, right? But going against Marcus Peters, going against Marlon Humphrey as a guy who has played these Ravens in that secondary week in, week out for a couple of years, it's not going to be easy to get it to Diggs. You're going to have to rely on other guys in that offense to step up. And I'm not saying that they can't, but you're going to have to rely on the Cole Beasleys and those guys there to do something for you. And in the running game, I'm just not so sure. I know that they have two guys that are pretty much clones of each other. You got Moss there, you got the other guy there, but they don't really run. And so
Moss is out, by the way. Moss
is out. Yeah, Moss is out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Bills Mafia. I'm picking the Ravens in this game because you got to be able to stop the run. We have not been able to stop them. And it may just be because anytime the Ravens play the Bengals, they just completely dominate us. I'm not saying that you guys are the Bengals, far from it, but I've seen what their running attack can do firsthand when they almost set a record on us for running in a game, 400 yards. Like, you're going to have to stop that. And in order to stop that, this is like the best running attack in the league. I think them and the Browns are pretty much there. And for that to be your Achilles heel, you got to be able to run the football in the playoffs. It doesn't matter if you're able to score 40 or whatever. Pittsburgh tried to throw in all of that. Like, it just really doesn't matter. Like Quincy said, if this was the Steelers, I would definitely pick the Bills. I don't even want to pick the Ravens, but I have to pick the Ravens in this game. Lamar Jackson, that running attack, the fact that the Bills cannot stop them from the run defense aspect. I do like Josh Allen. I do think that Josh Allen can come out and put up points, but this is a Ravens defense that's also stingy with great corners. They got a great secondary there. The only thing I think is the only weakness of the Ravens offense that I would probably say, even though they do have Yannick, is that their pass rush isn't amazing, but it's not bad. It's not non-existent. They still can get guys in there on you. And they also do some blitzing and stuff like that. It's a dynamic team. Like, this is the real deal. So you're not – if you lose this game, you're losing to a team that everyone picked to win the Super Bowl last year. So I got the Ravens in this one. And with that being said, I guess I'll throw it to Tony.
Yeah, this is a great game, and this is the two hottest teams in the AFC right now. I mean, I showed you the chart the other right there with the Chiefs and how they've been playing down the stretch. The Bills and Ravens are red hot. This should be the AFC Championship game. If my Steelers had not screwed it up for the Ravens, this would be, I think, the AFC Championship game because these are the best two teams. Sonny hit on the Josh Allen thing. Yeah, this is. I mean, it is the matchup between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I think comes down that it's all going to come down to because both quarterbacks kind of played shaky, especially to start last week. We saw Lamar come out shaky again. He threw the pick, and then they overcame that. And Josh Allen again. That team started off a little slow before they picked it up. And by the way, Indianapolis did exactly what you need to do against Josh Allen, which is not rush him with 5, but get pressure with 4, and they were able to do that. His numbers, Sonny, you talked about the numbers that Josh Allen has when you blitz him. They are absolutely ridiculous numbers. We're talking about 18 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions when you rush more than 4 players against him. He's actually far better than if you just drop back into coverage. So for me,
similar. Sorry to interrupt. I think it's similar that the Patrick Mahomes, meaning when he sees the blitz, he identifies and says, Diggs is going to be 1-on-1. Let me just throw it as far as I can. Go get it, Diggs. And usually it works.
Well, I don't know. I say just, hey, he's going to throw it up there, right? I mean, the guy is putting up unbelievable numbers.
I know. I'm just saying,
I don't think he's just chucking it for your life.
No, but he can identify that guy's 1-on-1. He knows what route Diggs is going to run, like a post.
Right. Well, give credit to Dayball too, the offensive coordinator, who's I think the year-over-year improvement of Josh Allen is the fact that we're talking about Josh Allen and him having numbers similar to Pat Mahomes. Okay, considering who Josh Allen was when he came out of college and even the player that he was for the last years, this guy who hadn't completed 60% of his passes just yet, and he's completing when not blitzed, he's completing 70% of his passes this year. So he's fantastic, and I think the key for me on defense for the Baltimore Ravens is good. This is the reason why they got Yannick Ngakoue, right? I mean, this is the game. You need to be able to get pressure. I need a stud pass rusher who can get in there and get pressure when I rush just 4. So guys like that are going to have to come up big. And Calais Campbell is going to be a big part of that. Derek Wolfe. Look, they redid the entire defensive line in Baltimore for a situation just like this. They thought it was going to be Pat Mahomes. It is Josh Allen. And like Sonny said, right, they have very similar tendencies as far as their how well they are under duress. So That's going to be a key in this game. I also think a key matchup is Cole Beasley. Look, everyone's going to talk about Stephon Diggs, and he led the league in receiving, so you should talk about Stephon Diggs. But Cole Beasley had a very quiet but very, very good season. Nearly 1,000 yards for him out of the slot. And you look at the games this year where the Bills had so much success, and a lot of that was through Cole Beasley. And you look at how the Ravens have matched up this year. Do they want to put Marlon Humphrey in the slot? They've done that. If you look at Marlon Humphrey's snap counts this year, it's 50% on the outside, 50% in the slot. They have not been shy about putting him in the slot. Do they feel comfortable with Peters on the outside against Diggs and Marlon Humphrey against Cole Beasley? That may be their best matchup in this one, and that may present some problems for Josh Allen, especially if we get good Marcus Peters in this game. The other thing to talk about is the Bills defense. Look, you guys hit on it. The Bills defense has not been impressive for the majority of the season. I will give them credit, though. You go back to that EPA chart I showed you. The Bills defense in the second half of the season, a marked improvement from where they were in the first half. The run defense obviously is not where they want to be, and I think a big part of that is Tremaine Edmonds, who was picked a couple years ago. Their inside linebacker. They wanted him to be a real stud in the league, and he's not there just yet. But he is very, very athletic. And you talked about the zone defense, Sonny. I think that can at least in some ways limit Lamar from the rushing that we've seen him do in recent weeks. And that's where I think where this team has really improved is that not only are they getting J.K. Dobbins on big runs, but that's you're turning Lamar Jackson loose as well in the running game. So that can be a key there is can Lamar find those holes against the zone, especially with a guy as athletic as Tremaine Edmonds, although Edmonds, as I said, athletic, but not exactly playing good football right now. This is a 50-50. I mean, this is a coin flip game for me. And you guys talked about it's probably going to snow, or at least it's going to be wet in this game, which again just makes it even more of a coin toss because you have two teams that match up like this, and the rain and snow is going to even that out, even between that. Yeah, look, I'll take the Bills in this one because they're home and because I don't believe that both home teams are. I think the fact that I think the Browns are going to win and I'm adamant about that has me picking the Bills in this one just because I'm not going to pick two upsets in the AFC. I think this is as good a matchup as we have. That's why I was shocked earlier to hear you say that Nance and Romo weren't calling this game because I think this is the best game we have this weekend. These are the two best teams in the AFC, and it wouldn't surprise me if the winner of this game is playing in the Super Bowl in February.
Two best teams in the AFC, even over the Chiefs?
Yes. I think the Chiefs are the fourth best team in the AFC right now.
Ooh,
I don't think they're playing good football.
Ooh. All right. James B has the $5 super chat. Let's face it, Ravens are more physical than the Bills. Trib for $2. He says the Ravens D is back like the vid. What's up, Joe Nobu?
One thing I want to touch on about Josh Allen, though, I really hope y'all don't do the thing that sometimes the Ravens do, which is just be adamant about a game plan that they should not be. Like when they blitz Patrick Mahomes on Monday Night Football all day. I get you think you might be able to get home, but one of the things that's not talked about with Josh Allen is you can blitz him and you might get your wrapped up on him. It doesn't matter. He is a mountain of meat.
It's a big point.
That is one of the most massive. No, he's bigger than Big Ben ever was. He is massive, huge. I've seen him just flick linebackers off him like it was nothing, and then one arm the ball 50 yards, stuff that I saw Andrew Luck do that he's doing right now. So I'm not trying to discredit Josh Allen. I just think that the one-on-one matchups with the wide receivers, when you look at the DBs, I think the Ravens can go one-on-one on them. I like the Cole Beasley matchup, even if it's Jimmy Smith in the slot. I like that one. Outside, I like both of those matchups for the Ravens. Then I like their defensive line matchup. And then on the other side of the ball, I just like their run game matchup too much to think they can't run away with this game. No disrespect to Josh, though.
Yeah, one of the things that Allen does so well and why he's so good is, and it was talked about so much when he was coming out of college, is that arm strength that he has. I mean, the guy, his release is just so effortless and the ball comes flying out of his hand. And that allows him to do a lot of things outside of structure in this offense, right? When, like you talked about, Quincy, when you get your hands on him, but you don't bring him down, well, then all of a sudden, he's out there scrambling and finding guys, kind of in that ad lib, something that Ben and AB were so good at. I think that's where him and Diggs find a lot of their success and where him and Beasley have found a lot of success that year. And so, again, it's gonna mean that those Ravens corners are either going to have to cover for even longer, or, again, they can get pressure with 4, or they could, again, if you get pressure with 5 and you get there, right, and you bring him down, well, there's no ad-libbing that Josh Allen's going to do from the ground, right?
Yeah, it's easier said than done, though.
Well, of course, and that's what makes this game so interesting, right? Is I think that whole matchup there is can they get success bringing Josh Allen down, and on the other side, can they still find the success of Lamar running the football against a team that's not going to play man, that's not going to play with their back to the defense, and a team that, look, Buffalo has a ton of talent. Ed Oliver is on that defensive line. I know these guys didn't turn out to be, these are all the 5-star recruits, right, who ended up being 3rd or 4th round picks, right? I mean, and by that I mean these are all 1st round picks who aren't necessarily living up to the hype that we thought they were going to be out of the draft. But these are very, very talented players in Buffalo, and they have started to turn it around a little bit in the second half of the year defensively as well.
Definitely. Misfit Culture TV for $2. This game is a toss-up to me. Ravens win barely. And we got another one here for $2. Quincy cuts promos better than most of the WWE.
You know why that is, right? Because I watch wrestling where they actually cut promos on AEW. I'm just saying they don't really cut promos on WWE. They read scripts. They don't cut promos. This ain't off the script.
Never been happier about my prop than on Tuesday's show when I decided to wear a bag over my head so you guys could you didn't see the tears coming out of my eyes during Quincy's entire promo.
I could see it a little bit. Certain things I said when I hit that TJ Watt, Derek Watt line, I was like, that hurt.
It got me. You got me.
But appreciate you guys for tuning in to the AFC North Talk. I appreciate the Kansas City fans and Bills Mafia for stopping through. We appreciate you guys in the comments. We appreciate all the super chats and everything. We will see you guys next week after this weekend. Quincy, where can they find your stuff, my guy?
YouTube.com/Quincy Carrier. You can also find me on Twitter at Quincy, and you can also find me sitting somewhere in the sanctuary hoping that Bills Mafia doesn't come for me because I predicted a massive blowout loss after they've been like one of the best teams in football for like the last 6 weeks. I get it. It's not a popular choice, but matchups, it's the matchups.
The snow makes everything weird.
Tony, where can they find your stuff, my guy?
You can find me on Twitter at Steeler Country. You can also find me on Locked On Steelers every Tuesday with my friend Chris Carter. And you can now find me on YouTube. I have my own channel. Search for it, Steeler Country. 2 words, Steeler Country with Tony Serino. I have a preview video up right now, but the content's coming not just February 1st. The Steelers just got rid of like half their coaching staff, so I'll have a video up for that later this week.
And Sonny, where can they find your stuff, my guy?
You can find me at SCG Sports everywhere, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, at SCG Sports. And then, we are playing a night game, so you can find me a little sleepy at the beginning of the game, but I should be there on Twitter tweeting.
Yes, sir. You can find me at New Stripe City if you're looking for any kind of Bengals content, anything related. If you draft next to us or something like that, you might want to get some insight for what we're doing. If you're a Joe Burrow fan, you can find me there. You can also find me here at the AFC North Talk. And please be sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it with your friends because we're going to keep coming to you guys with content even when the offseason kicks off. And we got some special things planned. Not going to reveal too many of them yet, but just stay tuned. And thank you guys for watching AFC North Talk.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.